My name is Optimus Prime, and I'm joined, as usual, by my amazing co-host, PrimeTime Moff. And whether you're watching us or listening to us, we welcome you to our weekly show, Transformers 1984 to 2024, 40 years of rolling out. A show that in the year of the brand's 40th anniversary, we look back and delve into the vast history of the Transformers. If you're new to the show, we'll be covering each year of the franchise's own weekly episode with special episodes throughout the year. So please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications to ensure you don't miss anything on this incredible journey. Hello, Moff! How are you this fine day?
I am very well, and looking forward to chatting more about Transformers. As always, a topic I absolutely love talking about.
It is such a fun thing to do. Let's not worry about whether anybody actually watches or listens to it. It's always just fun just to have a little chat. We have reached the year 1990 in our adventure. 6 whole years, seven whole, some years down the line, and a fair few episodes through. Um, it's been really interesting so far, but we sort of reached it last week, but we sort of reached a point where G1 is starting to peter out. Uh,
Yeah.
there's new toys, there's new gimmicks, there's new stuff every year, but it's definitely on a bit of a decline and wind down. And
Oh yeah.
both Moth and myself have commented that our actual purchases around this time and the toys that we actually experienced when we youngins um is a lot less
Oh
getting
yeah.
towards this sort of time period. So let's have a quick look at what was going on this year. The G1 cartoon that's finished. Um, so it was not even a pretend season 5 where they just do reruns. It's
Yep.
just
Nothing.
ended. Um, if we look at Good grief. If we look at the stuff that actually came out, there's a
Tough.
few videos,
Yep.
some comics. The only thing really that was going on was in Japan, they had Fight Super Robot Lifeform Transformers carrying on as a direct to video. But that was pretty much it.
Yeah. There wasn't much media at all at this point.
No. We're getting to the time where it would have really been really cool to have a live action movie, but wasn't going to happen in 1990,
Oh man, how
unfortunately.
bad would it have been? Think about it. Like think
Yeah.
of that generation at that season 5, Power Master
Oh,
with Tommy. Don't think we would have
yeah.
wanted that live action. Let's be honest.
I was thinking about it earlier. I think I saw a picture of that awful looking Power Master Optimus Prime, and I think somebody showed it to me and was like, "Oh, they're making a movie." And it must have been around this time. We were like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." Of course, we didn't have the internet. We had like some magazines that would come out with 3 or 4 month old information every so often, or whatever was in the comics. So when somebody came along with a picture of something and said, "Oh, they're making a film," you believed them for a long time. Um, which obviously that never happened. But anyway, let's anything you can think of about 1990 that sort of sticks in your mind.
No, really not. We're going to talk about the toys, but I had one of the like original toys. I had we'll talk about classics, but of the original toys that came out in this year, I had one sole set of Micromasters, and that was it. It just Action Masters did not appeal to me in the slight, and even they're the one part of the franchise I've never experienced that's probably the lowest down of I want to experience because they just don't work for me. Like they're not even really like an action. Like I liked action figures. I liked your mask. I love GI Joe. G- Action Masters don't have GI Joe articulation, so they can't really work the same. And
No,
but that being said, and we talked about this beforehand, a line that I really enjoy now, probably for its uniformity, and kind of a bit of fun of being able to get figures that never had figures before, or characters that never had figures before, is I really enjoy the reaction line.
They're
Not so much
amazing.
Transformers. I do have a pile of Transformers ones. I have a Skyfire, for example, because he's the first Western release Skyfire. Everything else is Jetfire. The first Western release Skyfire was the reaction. I've got the reaction Unicron, like from the so some of the reaction stuff is amazing. I've got the Soundwave, but they look cool on a shelf, but that's about it. And I think that's that with Action Masters. That being said, I think I want to experience them because I want to see if I'm wrong. I felt the same with Pretenders, and I feel the exact opposite of Pretenders now. Of all the G1 stuff I would go and pick up at TFN this year, I think Pretenders are top of my list. So I need to give Action Master that chance. I need to give them a chance to experience them, to see, did I miss out? Was I right? Was I accidentally right? Or have I have I missed out? And if it's interesting. We talked about last week about the gimmicks aspect of toys and Transformers. It was its gimmicks. Robots in disguise. If you subtly notice on the catalogs, that started to change, and even now I've got like a kind of Toys R Us banner in my room, and it doesn't say Robots in Disguise. It changed. At this point, it didn't have anything, but it changed to More Than Meets the Eye. But these are not Robots in Disguise. These Action Masters are not. You go to your. I know we're going to talk about your Optimus
Hmm.
Prime. It's at a point where Optimus Prime rides a truck. It totally, the classic Pretenders were the first one to start to switch me off from top
Hmm.
Transformers. This really hit me going, no, no interest, no interest at all.
It's funny because I've got a couple of things to say about this year. But I remember going to whatever the toy shop was called in Poole. I think it was a BT's or Toy Master or whatever it was. And I remember seeing the Action Masters on the shelf and thinking, "Wow, these are rubbish." Um, it was they didn't transform, which obviously is the big thing with Transformers. And they had these really stupid, doofy looking additional things. And yeah, I remember buying something else. I couldn't tell you what I bought. It was probably rubbish, and I probably don't have it anymore. Well, I definitely don't have it anymore, but I
Yeah.
definitely passed on Action Masters. I didn't even see Action Master Prime until the mid 90s. A friend had one, different friend. Um, but even the Prime's legs have fallen off because the rubber band had snapped. I have an Action Masters Prime now, um, and the one I bought, the rubber band perished pretty much the second I got it. I got it off of eBay, and it was together when I got it, so it wasn't the guy who sold it to me's fault. But literally, I moved his legs and the band snapped. So I had to take him apart and put in a new rubber band, as I didn't have a proper O-ring. But hey, it's fine. It stands up. It's all good. Um, but I suppose the thing that I did like about them was that it was like a cartoon. The first time you had a cartoon-like representation of your character. Bumblebee looked like how he did in the cartoon. Blaster looked
Yeah,
like how he
yeah,
did in the
that's a great
cartoon.
shout.
Um, oh, Devastator. At this point in my life, I hadn't seen a actual G1 combiner Devastator. Didn't have one until I bought a KO in the well, I don't know, mid two thousands. And it's a terrible toy. It's it's horrible. I mean, okay, I had a KO of it, but even a non-KO, it's almost completely unposable.
Yeah,
And the Action Master version just looks infinitely better. It looks like how it does
it
in
does.
in the
It
cartoon.
does. No, I give it that. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it does have that feel to it, and I also agree that the Devastator. I love combiners. Devastator's the one that I don't have the affiliation for as a kid as
Mm.
the G1 because it's not as good as the others. I think that when it gets into the Scramble City stuff, I think that's far better. So I think yeah, you're right. Like I never actually thought of that. Like, I never looked at it like that. But you're as soon as I look at Bumblebee now, and I'm thinking, going, that's
Yeah,
like actually for what we're looking at era wise, that's a great representation of the on screen.
yeah. And it's especially noticeable for Bumblebee because he looked so different in toy form to how he did in the cartoon.
Yeah.
So that was a nice touch. He had his smiling, silly face. Um, but also they brought out in this line, which is slightly weird considering what the concept of it was, that they give up their ability to transform for some reason or other. I'm sure.
What's gotten?
Yeah, something. It's wait, fully opposable new classic figures as they transform their conversion powers to their weapons and vehicles for reasons. I'm sure there were good reasons. But they also introduced a bunch of new characters who we had no affiliation for whatsoever. But it was quite fun and quite interesting to try and figure out what they transformed into. Some of
Yeah.
them were slightly obvious, but then other ones like Croc, who I assume turned into a crocodile, but the robot mode didn't
I
look in
wasn't
any
thinking
way.
croc because I was thinking croc's obviously a crocodile.
Yeah, but the thing is that the Croc,
You're right.
his gimmick is a crocodile,
Yeah.
the thing that comes with him, and his
Yeah.
robot
Uh-huh.
mode doesn't
It could
look
have been it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't look like anything. So yeah, and who's the other one? Uh, oh, what's his name?
I like
Banzitron. Yeah,
Banzai-tron.
what does
Banzai-tron, yeah.
Banzitron turn into? Who
Yeah.
knows?
I
An
think he's just
interesting.
popular now for being a repaint of Bludgeon whenever any toys come out
Yeah,
of him.
exactly. And of course, we got two Dinobots that didn't turn into dinosaurs. So, and also didn't have dinosaurs as their gimmick. So that was, I feel, a missed opportunity. But yeah, and then that obviously gave you the chance to give them transforming vehicles. But even they were
That was
really
Mask. Like
lame.
it's just Mask. Let's go. Oh, Mask's popular. Let's make Transformers into Mask.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
but like a less good version.
It's like Mask off Wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same. Doesn't have
We've
anywhere near
got
the same
Mask at
vibe.
home. Um, yeah. So they were an odd thing. Also, it's it's an interesting thing, but you can definitely see and definitely tell that we have hit the 90s because suddenly
Yes.
bright colors and neon are creeping
Yes.
into everything in the way that only the 90s could do. I mean, obviously 80s with neon, but the
90s is
90s you just had it
real.
like in your
Yeah.
face, bright colored everything.
Yeah.
Sort of a precursor to G2 in a lot of ways. The Micromasters for this year, uh, again, we had a whole new slew of bases and whatnot. Well, actually, no, not that many. There's only a couple of new ones, actually. Um, the ones So the big gimmick change this year with Micromasters was Micromaster combiners, which didn't really combine in the same way that Autobots and Decepticons did in the previous series. They combined by getting two little tiny robots that pushed together to form two halves of a vehicle. I would be lying if I was to say that the two halves could separately exist as anything other than a Rick.
Yeah, no, they didn't really. They were
Yeah, not a single one of them had a design that sort of lent itself to be a two halves of a thing. They didn't.
two halves of a
Yeah, I
longer
mean,
thing.
it's like uh, Dreadwind and Darkwing. They were two
Yes.
planes
Yes.
that
Yeah.
transformed into robots and combined into a bigger plane, but still had distinct other modes. These are two halves of a vehicle that separate to form two robots. I suppose maybe that's what they were going for. And the gimmick part of it was that you then had the combiner transports that each half of the vehicle would sort of sit at the back and front half of this platform with guns on it. Um, so yeah, that was that. Also, kind of missed opportunity again. They've got a couple of Micromasters that could easily have been a Micromaster Optimus Prime, but none of them were ever Optimus
Mm,
Prime. Well, full
yeah,
barrel and overflow from the headquarters, the big blue truck. Um,
yeah.
could have made that Prime, but they went with Action Master Prime instead.
I like the colours on that. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
appeals to me. That
yeah, no, it's good. It's very, very American.
very American.
But it's cool. But again, I didn't have any of these, not a single one. But I did again, friends having them. The one I do remember playing with as a kid was the Decepticon Battle Squad, I think. The sort of light blue
Hmm.
truck with a big gun on the back. Um, two half Micromaster Combiner dude. What about you? Did you have
I
any of them?
only, as a kid, I only had the um, Autobot Construction Patrol, and absolutely, even to this day, an absolute favorite. To be fair, I have to say, I thought they were fantastic. I did in the late '90s. Found a shop, or it was a wholesaler. I was doing stuff for my mum's business. It was probably 89 or 90, and I went to this place and they had just bought stock from another warehouse, and they had crates, and I mean big metal crates you could climb into of old stock. And I went in, saw the stuff. I phoned my mum and said, "Can I spend money of yours to buy some stuff?" And I only got a couple of things from Transformers. I got a G2 Sideswipe, but what I did get from this year was the Decepticon Constructor Squad, and they were brilliant. But that was probably the weird thing was in that day it was the other stuff I managed to pick up that would just blew me away. But even then, just being able to pick up Transformers, G2, or Micromasters fresh on a card late 80s, it definitely was either 88 or 89, was an exciting experience. And those, I don't know if I'd have enjoyed them quite as much as a kid because I'm like you, like what did they transform into when they're the front halves are fine. They kind of look like
Yeah.
this is a truck. The back halves are just like a bit naff. But no, I did actually. I have to say, I really, really enjoyed them. I thought they were clever wee gimmicks, and kind of fun to play with. And for a long while, just sat on my desk when I was at uni. But yeah, no, that was the only ones I experienced, and I didn't have the desire to pick up others. There's some of the MicroMaster sets I would be tempted with, but they'd be so far down on my list that I imagine I won't ever go back to pick them up. But you're right, like when you look at the colours, you
Oh
get into
yeah.
this year's toys, it's just let's go. Let's go neon.
I just looking at the oh, my dog's barking. That's gonna be fun to edit out. Um uh but I was just having a look because I was thinking that there's probably a ton of repaints in this year, but there really isn't, apart
No,
from
no.
when you get very obvious repaints in the same set.
Yeah,
Like the Monster Truck Patrol has basically three of the same dude, but with
yeah.
slightly different colors and slightly different molding. And what's the other one? The one with the hot rods.
Hot rods. They
Um
look quite nice. I think they
oh yeah,
because we've had modern versions of two of them, haven't we?
yeah,
And it's the ones that aren't the kind of weird repaint, the ones that look like just repaints of each other. The the Air Patrol, the Autobot Air Patrol, I quite like them. I think
yes,
they look quite cool. Um,
yeah.
the what one's K? Blaze Master. Blaze Master looks like the is it Jolt from Armada?
Yes, yes, he does very much look like
Hot
Joel.
shots, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just repaint him red. Well, they probably have done that by now. Anyway, currently we're just staring at the catalogue and pointing out toys. If you want to read along with us at home, just bring up a picture of the MicroMaster catalogue and just pour over these bots that you probably never owned, or if you did, good on you. Um, so I mean that's really all there is to say about the toys from this year. There's no pretenders. There's no anything else. There's no
Well,
versions of.
there isn't one important thing that comes out in this year or starts in this year.
I was going to get to that, but yeah.
That's okay.
No, 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 no. Go for it. You can tell them.
No. You go for it. You go for it, sir.
It's the start of the classics.
Yeah.
So the great thing about classics was obviously that all of the toys that you didn't get when you were a kid suddenly reappeared in the shops in garish gold packaging, um, which was really cool. And they were pretty much a Europe exclusive, weren't they?
Mhm,
They
mhm.
weren't a thing that was so much in the States. It was a continuation of the classics Pretenders to an extent, but without the Pretenders. So you had the aerial bots. You had the aerial bots and the Stunticons, and then a bunch of, well, Autobots really, because they seemed
Yeah.
to
Well,
just
classic
skip
heroes,
the
that's what they're called.
Decepticons. Well, yes, but they didn't have classic villains. So
No.
you had Inferno, Ironhide, Jazz, Prowl, Sunstreaker, and Wheeljack. I was annoyed because I'd always wanted Sideswipe. When I first went to
Mm.
Argos or wherever it was and got my first Transformer, it was Blue Streak because that was the one they had in stock. They didn't have Sideswipe. And when Classics came out, they still didn't reissue Sideswipe. Um, curse them. But yeah, did you have any of the classics?
I never ever saw the classic heroes. I only ever saw the combiners, but I never ever. Oh, I was gonna say I never had, but I definitely did have Motormaster. I've never ever at that point completed a proper combiner. I had Breakdown, I had Wild Rider, I had Motormaster, and then I had two of the aerial bots, but without the pictures. I can't remember which ones. And I can't actually, yeah, definitely had two. And then I got when it came out the next year, I got some as well. But I just enjoyed getting this stuff off the shelf. Um, Again, did eventually get my friend's jazz, but at this point, I look and go, I wish I knew there was jazzies out there that I could have got. We only really did shopping in our little village, and it had a really small toy shop. I didn't, as I say, I didn't know that the rest of the classic heroes were there. It was just the stunt coins, and I think I got Motormaster as a Christmas present rather than an off the shelf because it was only like pegged stuff that was there. And I don't imagine Motormaster was on a peg; it would have been on a shelf.
Hmm.
But yeah, I remember that my excitement of seeing Breakdown on a shelf and being like, "Whoa, this is more like it." Get rid of those silly Action Masters. And I picked up Breakdown. Breakdown being, I'm sure, is the first one I got from that. Um, it's the weird one in the Stunticons. The only one I've never owned is Drag Strip. I've owned all the rest of them at different points, but never had a drag strip. So I've never really completed a proper Stunticon, but I didn't mind that. I quite liked it. I say this about Davis there. I quite liked the bit of as long as I had one centre bit, I could make the rest up. Um,
Yeah, I my combiners that I had originally, I had Air Raid, and my brother had Nautilator, which obviously don't combine, and we didn't have a central body,
that's a good challenge.
so
Yep.
that was good. And I always loved the idea of combiners. I just never had a complete set. And my neighbors had the Stunticons and the aerial bots. They had the gift set for both of them that they got in like 86, 87 or whenever. And that was unfair. And yeah.
That
they almost gave them to me about 10 years later. We found all the bits in their house and they were going to give them to me, but then their mum said no because they were given to them by their nan and their nan had died. And I was like,
oh,
that's sad, but I want your toys and you don't want them, so give them to me.
it was
Anyway.
Skydive and Fireflight, but
Ah,
but I also don't think I got actually that don't think I did get Fireflight from Gold Box Classics on the shelves. I got them, I think, was it Weetabix? Gave away.
oh yeah, there was a thing where you could get like, yeah,
It
yeah,
was
that
only
that
as I was
sounds
saying
right.
that, and I'm looking at it going, I don't think I because I know I'm sure I got two from the Weetabix stuff, and I'm sure it was Firefly. I can't remember what the other one was. Was it maybe First Aid or Blades or something like that? But yeah, so I had Firefly. So I never had any combine really could do a combiner, but I picked up a G2 Silverbolt years later. But it doesn't really look the same when you put them together. But I did do I think you had mentioned the dodgy KOs that turned around in the late 90s, early
Yeah,
2000s. I
yeah,
had all those because they were stupidly dirt cheap, and I saw them in a shop in Glasgow and was like, what?
yeah.
And it was, I don't know what the quality is going to be like in these, but oh my God, I need to own them. It's the same as I probably felt when I first saw the classics on the shelf. It's like, I don't really, I'm into Transformers as much anymore, but it's G1 Transformers. I was like, well, it's just Transformers. What's G1? Just Transformers. So
So I've got one more thing to say about this era before we
yeah,
do
go
our
for it.
bot of the week. Um, I think one of the things that really becomes apparent with Transformers is that the further along you get with the line, the easier and more simplistic the transformations became. Until
Yes.
obviously, I mean, Micromasters were like, done.
Yeah.
Uh, and this obviously epitomized with Action Masters because they didn't transform at all. But even their little weapon platforms were like, move
Yeah.
one thing and it turns from one thing to another because it was almost automorphy. But, and some of them were spring loaded. It was nothing. It was just nothing.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, so the whole sort of the things that really attracted me to start off with, the complicated puzzle of trying to figure out how to transform it, or pouring through instructions and getting it wrong and everything else, all of that sort of side of it had long since passed. So having the classics come back
Agree.
and being able to go to the shop and buy Ironhide or Jazz or whoever, it was a good experience to be able to get them. Again, I didn't have any of them. But the fact that
Yeah.
newer people getting into the collection could pick up these old figures. So that was lovely.
I know 7 years before it got the first reissue, and there's reissues in there that if they came out now, like a Sunstreaker reissue, I
Oh,
would
100%.
cry over getting that. If when I look at the retro line they've done, where they've done like the movie ones, they've done Wave and Blaster recently. If you look at that, if they were to come out and say we're going to do a retro set and it's going to be Inferno, Ironhide, Jazz, Prowl, Sunstreaker, Wheeljack, oh my goodness, people would be end themselves over it. It would be incredible. And it
Absolutely.
just shows that obviously they had molds at that point. We know that molds have gone, and they're down the line, way, way, way down the line, we're going to get to talking about Missing Link and
Yeah,
the potential of bringing these things back.
still
But
don't have mine.
7 years after it originally airs, they start going right. Okay, let's say start reissuing. So it shows you even then they understood the value in those first because what is it? Aerial bots and Cyclones are year three, so they understood the
Mm.
value of the first 3 years worth of stuff. It wasn't like they were going, no, we don't need them anymore. What did you say? They're going to simplistic. We don't need that. They saw their still
Yeah.
desire for that little more complex and starting to bring back toys of that era was
Yeah.
a clear
Yeah.
indication of that.
It's such a good idea. And it's something that's been a mainstay of the longevity of this line is bringing out either reissues or new versions that are very much like the original ones, the ones that sort of hit you in the nostalgia button. And yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on. What was your toy of the year, Mr. Moff?
So I'm going to go with not the one that I had as a kid. I'll do that in the retro review this week. I am instead going to go for the one I picked up in the late 90s in a lovely bargain bin, but I absolutely loved the colours. I talked about that. I think it was on last week's episode. I talked about that. The I love when a transformer specifically has got a kind of bright red and a bright yellow, a contrast, just contrasting colours. It kind of pops out. So I'm going to go for the Decepticon Constructor Squad. And I think with the Micromasters, the comment I made on my review last week is see the amount of detail that's actually on the Micromasters when you look at them. You know, the Micromaster faces are a blotch of paint, it looks like, but there's real detail on them when you look at them in level. And you and I both have a love for Warhammer and painting to that small detail. There is a little bit of me always thinks, I wish I would have the patience to repaint just their faces and bring their features out. But I thoroughly enjoyed the fun factor of getting the Decepticons Constructor Squad. I had them, so I'm going to pick them as my favourite because I think I like them more. I don't know. Funny, they took both constructor sets for that year, and I could easily pick either or, but because I'm doing my retro review on the other one, I'm going to go for the Decepticon Constructor Squad as my pick for the year. Now, Mr. Oddimus Prime, I wonder what your pick is your pick of the year.
I could throw a curveball and say it was one of the Micromasters or maybe Croc, but it's not. It's going to be Optimus Prime because Action Master Optimus Prime, obviously. We're 7 years down and we're only 3 Optimuses down. We are not in the era yet when there is 15 Optimuses per year over line. So I have to grab them where I can. So Optimus Prime for me, and he will be my retro review / prime time with Oddimus as soon as I make the video. But
Actually,
as
am I right? We've got three Transformers at this point have had 3 versions, and one with 2. Megatron's only had 2, but
yeah,
Starscream, Jazz, Bumblebee, and Grimlock, and Optimus have all had 3 different versions
yeah,
in a 7-year period at that point.
yeah, that's
I
a
hadn't really
very
thought
good
about it
point.
like I was just thinking Optimus, but you need to remember the classic Pretender. So yeah, so there's four bots that we always talk. Greg and I always talk about the kind of core six, the core six, and look how much of the core six I've had at this point. I've had multiple new versions of them, not reissues, new versions of them.
Right. Okay, so that's been our look back at 1990. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, please remember we also produce weekly mini episodes like Talking Robots Tuesday, Retro Reviews, and Prime Time with myself, Optimus Prime. To ensure you don't miss out, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications to the channel, which will keep you up to date with everything going on from PTTV. Have a lovely week. See you again. Goodbye.
Bye.